Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Retrospective Podcast. I'm your host, of course, Earnest EJ Christian, and these guys are back together with me. We're going to continue our 1988 trek down Saturday Night Main Event Lane. It is the 35th anniversary of that year, so I figured, let's get through all these episodes here, these classic episodes. DJ, of course, and Rob of 2/3 of the Mindless Wrestling Podcast, which you can find on the Chairshot Network. Fellas, happy Wednesday again, as always.
Yeah, thanks you. Thanks for the invite again, man. I'm enjoying doing these, and it seems like this is probably going to be a weekly thing for us. So I'm enjoying that.
Seems that way, yeah. Seems that way. Like these Wednesday nights, and I was like, oh, the old guys together right now.
Well,
That's old school wrestling.
We used to record on Wednesday night, and then we had to switch some things up for Rob's schedule, and it freed up a night for me. So here we are.
It's awesome, I know. So we've been, we've done the first two main events of '88. We did January '88, of course. Then we had the main event, which was the record-setting show of Hogan, Andre 2, and Savage Honky for IC title match, of course. We now continue our trek down memory lane as we now hit Sunday main event in March of 1988. We are on the road to WrestleMania 4. As right now the title is actually vacant. Obviously that happened a week after the main event we covered last week. Just real quick, some notes here. So this main event, of course, before we get started, took place on March 7th, 1988 at Nashville, Tennessee, at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, and it aired on March 12th, 1988, same year, of course. Although there were 10,000 in attendance, it was reportedly a heavily papered event. The event aired on NBC and drew a 10 rating. So, I mean, compare that to what SmackDown and Raw gets, and wrestling was as mainstream as it gets. We'll have 5 matches, of course, on this card. We have Bruce Bar Beefcake versus Greg Valentine with Jimmy Hart in his corner. Of course, Hulk Hogan, the non-champion Hulk Hogan, against of course, King Harley Race with Bobby Heenan in his corner. The Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ted DiBiase with Andre the Giant and Virgil in his corner. You have the Islanders versus the Killer Bees. Of course, Heenan's in the Islanders' corner. The one, and also because of the one man gang versus Ken Patera with our favorite manager in the world, Slick, in the corner of the one man gang. Guys, you see that card? What does that tell you? That card? What does that speak to you?
It's one. It just brings like really good memories of some really good time watching wrestling, and two, it's stacked for an hour-long card.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, and because I remember the Hogan Harley Race match. I mean, I don't remember how it went, but I do remember seeing it back around this time. And yes, I mean they were fully, they were in full blown road to WrestleMania mode here.
Absolutely. So, guys, we are of course on Peacock. It is Saturday's main event. On Peacock, it's season 4, episode 3 of Saturday's main event. Again, March 12th, 1988. We need to pause real quick to set up your situation, your stream. Go right ahead. Otherwise, we're ready to go. We'll get this party started as we do commentary in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There's my boy, Randy Poffo. Look at Liz. Wish she touched me away my hand like that.
Certainly could use some of that kind of calming down.
Let me ask you this: like, you guys are a lot older than I am. You watching the time? We're 2 weeks from WrestleMania. 2 weeks from Savage's crowning moment. Any thought in your head that Savage is going to win the title?
Nope.
At that point in time, absolutely none. I think we talked about this last week. I was on the same page Rob was. Hogan was going to win it. In my head, this was just like some bump in the road. But even then, when you think about it, it's like, why would they do that? Maybe to shake things up. I had no clue it was going to be Savage.
You too, Rob, same thing? Really?
Yeah, I just did not suspect it at all because, I mean, look, we just come to believe that, Hogan was just not going to lose. I mean, this type of thing. And, I figured, and like I said, this was around time we were both kind of getting a little smarter to the business and all. And like DJ said, we just thought it was just something they did to shake things up. A little bump in the road. And not it was going to be this whole big thing. Mm-hmm. So I figured, they had him lose, then he'd get it back and be back off to the races, Because I guess because
Mhm.
in this is because on the other side of the street, I had seen them do this with Ric Flair, right?
Yeah.
He lost to Dusty and won it back 3 weeks later. I mean, and then he had lost to Ronnie Garvin and won it back at the next Starrcade, which is like a month and a half later. So I just figured this was that type of deal. You take the belt off the guy for a little bit of time, just to kind of shake things up, a little bit, and then after that, you just put it back on him, and back to business.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who all was in the tournament, but I think while the tournament was going on, if Hogan wasn't gonna win, I'm pretty sure I had other guys on there that I would have been happy if they had won or were quietly pulling for, but I had absolutely no doubt that Hogan was going to win it back.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, him and Andre will meet in the second round of the that tournament to get buys.
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised that they went the way they went with that. With the what was it, a double disqualification or count out?
Yeah.
Double DQ.
There was a non-finish either way, but and I remember watching that going, wait a minute, they're not doing that. And in that moment, I'm like, well, who the hell's winning this? Because Macho Man wasn't at the top of my list.
But and you'll see it on this episode too, especially. If you look in hindsight, it makes sense that because obviously you're going to see Savage and DiBiase fight right now, and of course 2 weeks later fight again in the finals of the tournament, for the title. They kind of they sort of tease it already here for us. At the time, you don't know that, but
well, but back then I watched it the way you were supposed to. I just as we say on our show, just watch the show.
Yeah,
watch it as it's presented on your TV and go along for the ride.
I'm still with you. And that's how I've followed the Bloodline feud for the last especially last year. I'm surrendering myself to the storyline. Where you want to take me, whatever story you want to tell me, go right ahead. I am the 8-year-old boy back in '88 when the Mega Powers were doing their thing and did not know what was going on here and thought Savage was wrong, which in hindsight was not the case.
Wrestling fans rob themselves by thinking they know too much.
That's the problem.
They really rob themselves of some incredible joy.
Yeah.
Which is the beauty of of this era, because you didn't have the internet either too, also to influence you.
Yeah.
I didn't know even during the Attitude Era when I was 18, 19 years old, I didn't know the dirt sheets existed. When Chris Jericho went to WWF that summer of '99. It didn't cross my mind that he was on a contract with WCW anymore and that he was going to WWF. It didn't cross my mind at all.
Yeah.
So,
see, I knew about Hall and Nash leaving WWE because of the internet.
Right.
Because I was kind of on the message boards and things like that back in, you may be a little young for America Online, but I know Rob remembers America Online.
No, I remember that. AOL, yeah, of course. Yeah,
and everything like that. So, I was all entrenched in that crap back in the day.
Because see, I didn't. Hall and Nash surprised me because I didn't really start reading the websites until maybe like '97. Yeah. So because my first taste of getting stuff spoiled was when they started reporting that Brett was more than likely leaving WWF to go to WCW. That was my first taste of kind of dirt sheet kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Hall and Nash, because I wasn't really watching full time but I knew who Diesel and Razor Ramon were.
Right.
So and some friends of mine were watching Nitro, and then so when Scott Hall comes to the crowd, we were all like, oh shit. And then a couple of weeks later, and then and then there's Kevin Nash. I mean, we were legit like damn, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Greg the Hammer, look at that mullet. Greg the Hammer always had the best mullet.
He did. He really did.
I mean, Jimmy Hart's looks pretty good too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart at this point, man, but this is peak Hart. This is peak Jimmy here. 87 through 89, 90, peak Jimmy. Absolutely. I don't even think about his stuff with Hogan as a babyface. That to me, I get it. It worked for a little bit, but it never made sense to me. Like when I always saw Jimmy Hart as a child, Jimmy Hart is always a heel. End discussion.
Yeah. I think I said that on our podcast one time. Jimmy Hart spent years trying to, be one of the people trying to take down Hulkamania. He goes to WCW and they're like best buds.
Yeah.
Like, please make that make sense. To me.
Rewrite the script, please. Rewrite the script.
And then, of course, some people say his best work was before he even came to WWF when he was in Memphis.
I mean, if that's the case, I mean, it won't surprise me. Obviously, he's a great talent. What he does.
Yeah, because basically what he did with Jerry Lawler was kind of the warm up act for feuding with, I guess when later on doing the stuff with Hogan, he did it with Jerry Lawler first.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I argue real quick. I argue that Jimmy Hart's impact is almost like obviously because the type of guys that Balby he didn't use. Obviously, you had that. Okay, well, he'll get the recognition because he put Andre over or these legendary guys. But Jimmy Hart had the same impact with the mid-carders too as well. Yeah. And I argue even more as impressive, well, not more, because getting mid-card guys over is hard because they're, either you care or you don't care. And Jimmy Hart Foundation, Honky.
Jimmy Hart was part of the Honky Tonk Man experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he was very much influential and a part of that, of the success of that.
Yeah.
And then look, for a while, for those first year or two, he was the only thing interesting about the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, Brett and Anvil were like paint drying.
Yeah, I mean, for those first couple of years, it really took a while for them to really get anything going of their own accord. For a long time, Jimmy was the only thing that made them worth watching. And that's as great as Brett was as a wrestler. Still, I mean, there was no character going on with him or Neidhart for those first couple of years, and Jimmy was it.
I was such a fan of this feud. I was such a mark for Brutus Beefcake, and this feud with him and the Hammer was This was just so much fun for me as a kid.
Well, this is great mid card work here too, especially.
It is. It's a great mid card feud
because Barber's is going to face Honky for the IC title, of course, at WrestleMania 2 weeks later from this. Now he didn't win the match, obviously. He did win the match, but by disqualification.
Oh, I was so pissed at that.
Yeah,
I wanted Beefcake to win that match so bad.
Of course, I mean, who doesn't want Honky to win that match at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old? But I will say this much: that's part of the smart booking of WWE, though. You think about it in hindsight. The thought process, especially as an 8-year-old, was that so Honky never losing this title ever. Fast forward to when we did SummerSlam 88, and no one thinks he's losing it that night. And the way they did it, and they had Warriors set to be the next guy.
Yeah,
and it made sense the way they did it. So in hindsight, this was great booking by WWE. In hindsight,
it was because that's go ahead, finish your thought.
No, because Love or Hate the Warrior, the Warrior was over, really over, and got even more over even after this because of Honky put him over like this. So
yes,
it was actually smart booking in hindsight.
And that would not have worked had we not had a almost 15-month unstoppable title reign. And the way that he won, always escaping by the hair of his chin and everything like that.
And the arrogance.
That's what made
Get somebody out here. Right.
Yep.
Because it was supposed to be Beefcake also too to face him at SummerSlam as well.
Yeah.
But he got injured by the Outlaw Ron Bass thing, the thing.
Yeah, the forehead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in kayfabe, he was out. He might actually had a real injury, to be honest with you. But Honky's thing was, well, I'm not going to lose the title. I'll get cocky. So he tells somebody, get someone out here. I don't give a damn who it is. And of course, it's Warrior, and the rest is history, of course.
This match is hilarious.
Beefcake
was one of the best at doing absolutely nothing in that ring and milking it for every bit of juice he could get out of it.
Because he was literally a punch and kick guy.
What was that? That was like a pinning roll. That was actually a move by Beefcake.
And dude, and at this point here, from here now to 90, he's one of the most over characters in the entire company. Like you have Hogan, Warrior, and then after this, I argue Beefcake is like 3 or 4.
Beefcake was Jake. Always in the top 4 guys, baby faces in the company.
Right.
How they never maybe some of it was just him, and I don't know how he was backstage or how hard he was to work with. I don't know anything about the guy other than what I saw on TV.
But also,
I cannot imagine why they never at least put the IC title on him.
Because Warriors, I think because Warriors are more over. I think there's a thought that they were going to do that, but then Warrior at this point was getting really over at this point. It's like, you know what? So they kind of swerve you a little bit with the Honky Brutus like IC feud, throwing hit Warrior the way he did it. Rest is history. Go ahead, Rob. You going to say?
Well, because I think because with Warrior they saw somebody who could be world champion, and
Hogan-ish.
And Beefcake was never going to be world champion ever.
Right.
No.
They see a guy that's already like, he's more than mid card. This could be the Hogan's replacement. Yeah.
So yeah, they just it's just so they decided to go with it. And then remember I think he was finally supposed to win it from Henning, but then he got that's when he had the boating accident.
Correct.
That was real.
Yeah.
He actually beat Henning at if I'm not mistaken, he broke the streak.
WrestleMania that year.
Yeah, WrestleMania 6. Yeah.
That was probably his consolation prize.
Yeah.
Well, because but he did. He got a legit injury in that boating accident,
right?
When he was supposed to win the title, and then at that point, I think they just like, well, hey, we can't. Well, he was so messed up in that accident, he didn't come back for a couple of years. So at that point,
by the way, this table you'll see on the side of the ring, keep in mind that's going to be a very important thing later on in the telecast.
I think I remember that. But yeah, we'll watch it.
Yeah.
Speaking of the greatest IC champion of all time.
Oh, here he is, Honky Tonk Man. He's cool. He's cocky. He's bad.
So I recorded the last episode on this feed. I recorded with Duke Bennett, a good friend, and we did our top 10 IC champions all time. he has number one and number 3. You guys, what do you rank Honky as an IC champion all time?
Top 3.
Top 3. Yeah.
Top 3 also.
Yeah.
Top 3. Absolutely top 3.
You have a number? Number 1?
I don't think I'd put him at number 1.
I gotta think about it. Yeah. Because
on the spot, gun to my head, I couldn't give you a number.
Yeah, because Savage's reign was really good. It's just people it gets forgotten because he was
the world title reign. Yeah,
right. But his Intercontinental title reign was excellent.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
And then Tito was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tito
of course,
had a great reign.
Yeah. And then after those guys,
I'm partial to work rate guys, so my number 1 is probably going to be either Brett, Sean, or Kurt Hennig. Just because for this particular title, I'm a fan of the work rate guys.
So, go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
If I'm thinking top 5, I would say Honky Tonk Man. I would say Savage. I'd say Tito was top. Yeah. And then I'd probably fast forward ahead to, I guess my other 2 would probably Miz and Gunther.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my list,
that's a solid list.
So my list 10-1. I have actually a chunk of the guys you said too, Rob, when you mentioned your top 5. Number 10, I had Pedro Morales. Number 10. Number 9, Shawn Michaels. 8, Gunther. 7, Mr. Perfect. 6, Razor Ramon. 5, Chris Jericho. 4, Macho Man Randy Savage. 3, Honky Tonk Man. 2, Miz. Number 1 was the Warrior.
Okay. People forget how good Razor Ramon's Intercontinental Championship run was.
He had 4 reigns.
Well, see, I wasn't watching then. So
see, I was pretty deep.
I was in
it then.
Oh, you were really?
Oh yeah, I was into it pretty big at that point.
So do you like the new generation era?
The what?
The new generation era. Do you like it?
There were things about it that I liked. There were some really underappreciated wrestling matches. We got the classic ladder match with Scott Hall and Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels. And the follow-up part 2 to that was really good too. The second one wasn't as good as the first. We got some excellent wrestling out of Bret Hart. Bret Hart dragged some great matches out of okay people. There was definitely some stuff about the new generation that was watchable. A lot of the gimmicks were forgettable, but some of the work was really solid.
Makes sense. Yeah,
we got introduced to Diesel, Razor Ramon. We got the 1, 2, 3 Kid out of that.
Yeah.
There's definitely good takeaways from that. when you get past the crap. Unfortunately, during that time period, the crap outweighed the good.
Yeah. But yeah, Duke got mad at me because I put Ward number 1, and he's like, he didn't get anybody over, this and that. I'm like, to me, the Warrior was the first guy that made the IC title look like a world title, like because he was so over. And as you were saying on the podcast last time, the Warrior felt like an 89 from 89 to 90 when he won the title. Felt on level with Hogan. Like you may have thought it, but he felt on level with the way he was being treated, and the way he was being reacted. Like he was getting more cheers, really more, and maybe just in volume than Hogan was at this point now in 89. And him having that belt too elevated that. So to me, it felt like the IC title was a big deal, and such a big deal to the point where that was the only title on SummerSlam '89 that was actually defended, because Hogan was in a tag match.
Yeah,
and then the tag title match they made a non-title, which is stupid as hell, but whatever.
Oh, Beefcake's going after Jimmy Hart. Oh, he almost had him.
Yeah,
and the Hammer lays the boots.
The Hammer got him. This is a good match, actually. It's actually a good match.
This has actually been very competitive. It's been a really good match.
Watch this. Both down. 1, 2, 3.
I got the old shoulder up.
The old shoulder. The old last minute. Look at Jimmy's dumbass. Again, Jimmy was so good at this shit, man. He was so good at trolling everybody.
Is the USWA stuff on the Peacock? Like, does Vince own that, or did Jerry hold on to all that?
I think Vince bought it eventually. Yeah,
because I don't know that I ever remember. I mean, it may have been up on the network, but I don't think it's up on the Peacock. Is it?
Good. I don't know, because I know like some of the world class stuff is.
Yeah, world class it is.
Now, I think if you want to find some of that old Memphis stuff, you got to go on YouTube for that. Like some of that old, yeah.
Beefcake in the hair. What a sport. Oh, we can get worse. Bring the shears out. He was so wild. He was so wild with that damn thing, man. I always swore one day he'll cut somebody accidentally in the crowd too.
Man. Yeah, I mean, I look at that now, that's just scary. Seeing him run around with that damn things.
Just jacket.
No, that's right. He gets the jacket. I forgot about that.
That's probably only time ever in the world where you can wear that kind of stuff and get away with it on national television. Beefcake's outfit here.
Oh yeah. What Jesse say one time? It looked like a hand grenade went off in his pants.
Yeah.
Now I hear this guy was a scary motherfucker in real life though. King Harley Race.
Oh yeah, he was one of those people you didn't mess with, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was up there with Haku.
You can tell him.
Yes, sir, and move it along.
Yep. Him, Haku, the two guys always look at it like, yep, those the guys you'll fuck with.
I read an article about Harley Race one time, and I wish I could remember for the life of me who his opponent was. But they were booked for a match, and they started talking about what they were going to do in the match backstage. Harley just said they didn't even book the finish. They didn't even call spots in the ring. They just went out to the ring and had a wrestling match, and I wish I could find it just to see if it's any good. But they did. They just went out and had a 20-minute actual catch-as-catch-can. I mean, it was a worked match, but it was still a catch-as-catch-can wrestling match, and I think that's freaking cool.
He looks like a scary motherfucker. Like I want to fuck with him. Now as a kid, I'm like, oh, Hogan beat your ass. In real life, I think this guy will fuck up Hogan.
Yeah. I didn't appreciate Harley Race during this time period because Harley was, as a wrestler, not,
very dull. He's very basic. Headbutts, hit, go to the ropes.
But he was also 10 years past his prime here.
Oh, yeah.
As a wrestler, as a tough human being, he probably still had a lot of miles left in him. But as a wrestler on TV, he was well past his prime. So I had almost no appreciation for what Harley Race meant to the business back then.
Yeah.
Until I went back and watched it later.
It's kind of a flair for me.
Why is this boring ass guy who does headbutts and pretty much just bumps all night? Why is he the king? Like, what did this guy do to be the king? is what I was asking myself in 88.
Yeah. Chuck him over, I guess. I mean, he had name value obviously from being in other promotions and stuff, but yeah, he didn't do anything for me really until like I got older and appreciated the art form of wrestling in general. But one of the things you'll see throughout this year too, you start seeing the change of styles. The WWF going to more athletic guys. I've always said that. I've always said that the '89 roster was arguably their best roster one time they've ever had in the company.
Because I think that was when they basically cleared out the last of a lot of those guys that were from other companies. Because
correct.
Because
Morocco, Patera, all those guys, they slowly started to.
Yeah, because 88 is when Big Boss Man came over and Bad News Brown, and then 87 was like Rick Rude.
Correct.
So they started, yes, they started, then they got,
slowly bringing these body guys. These guys were more shape. They were less Junkyard Dog and more Paul Orndorff, if you know what I mean. Like Hogan's shirt torn already. This is Hogan's first appearance without the title. So it's significant in terms of his attitude and his aura. I say this run here, Hogan here without the title until he wins it again in Mania 5, is his best non-title run. It ain't close.
And
I'd say
yeah. Because now what was funny though, like in 1990, and you could tell, kind of Warrior was on the clock because they were because in 1990 they were presenting like Hogan and Earthquake was presented as being more important than Warrior as the world champion, and it was pretty clear. So
you know what the big tell is, to be honest on that, is that 4 months into Warrior's title reign, they make the SummerSlam match the double main event.
Yeah,
that's a big tell.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, when you do, and then yeah, exactly. So because if the world championship should stand on its own. Headbutt, and now we get Hogan be pissed off. Wrapping his hand, and yeah. But not only that, but aside from the Mega Power storyline, for starters, he had some really good feuds here too at this time as well. He used obviously feud with Andre and DiBiase this time. He obviously Harley Race here. You get the Big Boss Man feud coming up. That was a fantastic feud. And then for me, that was a shocker for me because I did not think that they were going to have Big Bubba Rogers be on the same level.
And the way they used him too was fantastic. There's that table.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why are they even there in the first place? That's kind of random for a table to be there randomly.
Yeah. It's just like there. Harley Race is probably asking himself the same thing right now. Why the hell is this table here?
Yeah.
He'll come regret that in a sec. He'll come regret
those old school wooden steps.
He'll come regret that very soon. So the idea here too also with Hogan is to make him look so fucking pissed off because he just lost the title after 4 years.
Yeah.
So the idea is to make him look really like a madman, and the torn shirt, and then the way he's destroying Harley Race to start the match, and him trying to kill Bobby here, of course. But yeah, what I was saying about also the change in the guard of them going into more athletic guys. This is the year you start to really see it a big way, like 88, because Harley Race is gone from WF by around this time too. Also, I think within the year, he gets hurt. You'll see here in a second. You also have who else leaves? Junkyard Dog gone by early '89. So they had started phasing out guys. I think also that were kind of more of the rock and roll wrestling era, and they were going into this era now more serious wrestling to some degree. Still sports entertainment, but serious wrestling. And guys that look in shape. You see Rick Rude here. You see, a bunch of guys, come in. The Rougeaus. A bunch of other the the tag team, I think the thing that benefited more from this era too, the tag team division was really, really awesome in 88, 89.
Late 80s, late
Mhm.
80s tag team wrestling in WWE was peak.
I mean, you have your right, not yet, but 2 weeks later, but Voluntary tag team Demolition, on top of the heap. BDSM. That's what it is. Talking about Rob, you can't stand the BDSM shit. Is that Joey Morella? I said it's Joey Morella.
Yeah.
Hogan's favorite referee.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Hey, Joey Morella's here to save him again, Gorilla.
I always popped for Hogan going to the heel tactics. Like right here, he's choking out Harley. He's choking out Harley with the wrist tape.
Oh, here's a good
beating Harley from pillar to post. Like poor Harley Race doesn't even know where he's at right now. Hogan's just wearing him out. He's choking him out again. Morella's on top of it. Like this, I used to pop for this crap.
Here's a great question then. Heel Hogan or face Hogan?
Oh, face. Come on, yeah.
Face Hogan, yeah. But I tell you what, that heel run was legendary.
Yeah, it was. And it literally changed the business. But, I mean, it was not even possible without all this. I mean,
no, of course.
Because what made it, one of the things that made it work so well was because of all of this.
Watch Ragdoll Bobby. No, you can argue Roman's using the Hogan model right now.
Oh, absolutely.
The Hollywood Hogan model. It's gonna be obvious. It's gonna be for many reasons. It's gonna be face Hogan, obviously. For starters, sample size him alone. He was only outside the early days. We don't even acknowledge really. 1980 Hogan. Hogan was only a heel in those 2-3 years of his career, and then he came back to WWE as a heel and turned face literally a month later. So Hogan, red and yellow, Hogan will always get the nod. I'll say it's a lot closer though because him pulling that off and him sustaining it for 2 years, it's pretty impressive shit.
Well, he needed to do something because I think, by the time he turned heel, people were over Hulkamania.
Well, it's that, but then also he was always an outsider in WCW.
Yeah.
They Hogan, to what I've heard for years, Hogan wanted to turn heel in 90.
What, for Vince?
Yeah. He wanted a character change. And I think Pritchard has said that he liked the idea. Oh, okay. So watch this bump here by Harley Race.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Ouch.
This will be, in real life, be the pretty much the end of his career here.
Oh.
Because he'd be out for a little while as a result of this injury.
What did he do? Break his ribs or?
He hurt his head.
Oh, he hurt his head. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, he did hit his head when he came down, didn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He's just going straight on an adrenaline here right now.
Yeah.
You can tell too. You can tell.
I think he just called to go home. I think he just let Hogan know he was hurt.
I mean, another high
spot. He said something to
though.
Hogan. I'm pretty sure he called to go home.
Another high spot. I hate when Hogan did that. Like Hogan was oversell the getting hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Hogan's. It's called a match here. I got hurt.
Yep, that's what he said. Harley did right before he headbutted him. Right before he went to the top rope, Harley told him, "Let's take it home."
Give the people what they want. Hogan must pose. So I'm looking it up right now. The injury.
And it was a nasty looking bump. I didn't realize he actually injured himself there.
Yeah.
No, so he ran. I'm a couple seconds ahead of you guys, but
all right. So
he ran through the closing sequence really fast. So yeah.
Yeah. Look it up right now. So he suffered an abdominal injury in a match against Hogan, which he tried to hit Hogan prone on a table ringside with his swan dive headbutt. Hogan went on the way, Race impacted the table inwards. The metal edge forced its way up Race's abdomen, giving him a hernia.
Yikes.
Race continued to work with the injury through WrestleMania 4. where he was in the Battle Royal. Following the incident, of course, they run an angle on his injury, so they crown a new king, and we'll see probably in the next 2 episodes of the main event. Haku end up being king.
Right here. Oh yeah, there it is. And when he gets up, you can actually see. If you look at his, they don't show him getting up.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a little bulge in the rib cage in the abdominal area.
Yeah, Hogan this is a new territory now because it's the first time in 4 years Hogan's your champion. We don't know, obviously, in real life, but he's going away to make a movie. No holds barred.
You got that belt on. You can see some of that beer belly going on there, Hogan.
Mm-hmm. Well, Hogan always had a pretty bulky. He was never
understanding
shredded.
is he was an overweight kid.
I can see that. No, I'm just saying that Hogan was never, shred. Like Savage had a little bit of shred to him to some degree.
Right.
A Warrior, obviously. Hogan was a bulky guy. He was bulky.
Yeah.
All right, this is actually the main event here. Savage and DiBiase. Another tease of, Savage is gonna be the guy. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
How bad does this Virgil character look in hindsight now?
I think,
Oh.
and I'm in. Well, I was gonna say I'm in the minority. Well, of course I am. But,
but not in this podcast.
Well, no, I'm in the minority on the podcast.
Exactly.
I don't know. I guess I wasn't. To me, it was fine back then, and then later, and then many years later, I saw a bunch of people saying it was offensive and this, that, and the other, and I was like, I don't know, it never really rubbed me that way, because it's like he's a bodyguard, and I mean, he went out there and he took bumps and all of that, and
I'm gonna say. Well, let's say the whole slave, almost like a slave character to.
But no, but
DiBiase.
it was. But I never took it that way. I always, because to me, I mean, he was a guy who worked for DiBiase, which means he got paid to work for DiBiase. So,
Right.
So, calling it a slave. I mean, I've seen people use that word to describe it, and it was never that to me. It was always. He was a guy who worked for Ted DiBiase, and he was the bodyguard.
Real quick, before you continue, Rob. See right here, they're showing here Savage and Liz. Again, this is them telling you, hey, this next guy.
This guy's coming. Yeah,
it's coming. It's important.
Go ahead, Rob.
Go
ahead, Rob. Finish up.
Rob, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I guess to me, Virgil was no different than Big Brother Roger with Jim Cornette. And
right,
I mean, he's Big Brother. He stepped in front of Cornette for people to hit him instead of Jim Cornette, and he came in there and he pulled Jim Cornette out of the ring and saved him from a beating and all that type of stuff. And to me, it was the same thing. I never saw it as any different, and just because I never for once thought that Virgil was working for free. I mean, I never thought that at all. I mean, so for people to imply that it was a slave type of thing, it wouldn't. I mean. No, it never came off that way for me. I mean,
go ahead, DJ.
Sometimes people look for things to get offended about in hindsight.
Of course.
And I think that's one of those things. And even when they did push the angle to the point where DiBiase started abusing Virgil as a manager or whatever, Virgil as a bodyguard or whatever, Virgil got his comeuppance. If I'm not mistaken, he eventually beat DiBiase, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. That's made 7.
And then he later on he beat him for the $1 million belt. I mean,
yep. So I don't, like I said, Virgil was never a huge star. I don't know, why that happened or didn't happen or whatever the case may be, but I can't say that, after the fact that they ever treated him badly, on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I just, because I mean, look, I mean, they didn't have him bark like a dog like they made Trish Stratus do. They never did anything like that. I mean, or they didn't, they didn't have him get like a bucket of slop dumped on them or anything. I mean, it's just, I mean,
Rob and I certainly saw much worse treatment of as women wrestlers. But Rob, if you remember the angle with Baby Doll, where Dusty quote unquote won the services of Baby Doll for 30 days, and he made it a point on TV to say, "I've got it for 30 days, Daddy, and 30 nights."
And then
hang on,
and then when Baby Doll finally left, Tully Blanchard like struck her on television.
Yep.
Right. I mean, that was like, was it like 85 or 86? But yeah, I mean, and that was, I mean, because I didn't know that happened until like I was watching some of the old stuff on Peacock, a year or two ago, and went and I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, they did that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just again, I've seen so much worse, and
big old Andre.
And now,
so they're pushing Liz and Savage too, because they're putting all the focus now as Savage to become champion 2 weeks from now on the package of Savage and Liz, and it makes Savage even more babyface here. Him being polite to Liz, my platinum gal, that kind of thing, and they're really pushing that's the big tell that they're making him the next guy. And of course, him being involved right now involved in Hogan's feuds. Like, this is really Hogan's feud. You think about it. Like, it's Hogan is trying to fend off DiBiase and mind the belt, and then Andre beats him for the belt because DiBiase bought his contract, of course. And now Savage is involved in the feud now. So by default, Savage gets the spotlight.
Yeah, and but back then, again, just I mean, we can figure that out today.
Yeah, Innocent Eye. Back then.
Yeah, but on March 12th, 1988, I was not thinking Savage was the guy.
No.
March 12th, 1988 was actually election time. So you had Dukakis against Bush this time, election season.
But yeah, I had not even the slightest inkling that Savage was going to win that tournament.
Wow.
Because it's because I mean that day I was watching the Clash of the Champions, and one of my friends was watching WrestleMania 4. And I was going to ask him, like, well, who won? And he said Savage. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah, I don't think we ordered WrestleMania 4. I don't think we watched that one, but I remember my friends at school telling me that Savage won it. And then my friend's dad ran a video store. So when it came out on VHS, we rented it. That's the first time we watched it, was when it came out on VHS.
Yeah, it was double VHS too.
Yes, it was double because it was over 4 hours.
Yeah,
it had to be.
Yeah,
that must make us shit on a lot though.
It does. It ends up being. I mean, in hindsight, it's a bit of a slog, but
it is.
There's some good stuff to take out of it too. It's just like any show. It's
Well, one match today. One match on there that went the full brim. That because the tournament had 50-minute limits, or you get disqualified. Not Savage. Rick Rude against Jake Roberts went the distance.
Yes.
And you can hear in that match. You can hear boos.
Yeah, because there was no definitive.
Right.
I might break down one day and go back and watch this.
Yeah, even during the matches, it was boos because I think the match was kind of boring because there was like hold.
Yeah, and I now know what you're talking about. It's hold after hold after hold after these guys just came out of a blood feud.
Yeah. Well, that was not because that was before.
You're right. Sorry, got me. 89 was the.
It's only no. It's still 88. It's literally a month before
the feud started. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the thing that happened with Rude and Shaw Roberts started late April, and they'll show it on the next main event. No. Yeah, no, they won't. The one in October, never mind. They'll show where it started, and to me, that's where the feud actually started. Even though the remnants were actually, the Mania match. But of course, it's easy to do that. Though,
right here is why DiBiase's neck was a wreck. That bump right there.
Yeah.
And of course, DiBiase and Savage will actually have a feud beyond this once Savage wins the title. Nice crowd there. Well, like 10,000 people there, supposedly. or close to it. Yeah, DiBiase was arguably at this point the number one heel in the company.
He was.
Yeah.
And at this point, he's only there 6 months now.
Yeah, he shot up like we want to talk about them putting a rocket ship on somebody.
Yeah.
They put the rocket on DiBiase.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to do if you with Hogan. I mean, look at Boss Man. They saw Boss Man, all kinds of Boss Man. Said, okay, we feel Hogan immediately. That's it.
Yep. These guys always had good chemistry.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. DiBiase is so underrated in the ring too. So underrated. The execution has moves too, especially.
What's funny is you say that, but which was it? Royal Rumble 91, the one that Flair won?
He was 92.
92. There's a point in that match where, now mind you, Flair and DiBiase are both heels. For a brief second, they get hands on each other and the crowd goes nuts.
92, right? Yeah, it was 92.
I think it was 92. Yeah. They get hands on each other for the briefest of moments, and the crowd goes nuts for it. I went nuts for it because I'm
maybe it's 93, I think, because Flair was still there 93, but he left like really after that event.
Whichever one it was, I know these two got hands on each other, and I distinctly remember the crowd popping for it because they knew they were about to get something between two of the business's best to ever do it at the time. And I'd have to go back and watch the Rumbles. Actually, I started to watch all the Rumbles a while back, and I just kind of fell off. I need to go back
the
and watch
entire show, or just the Rumble match itself?
The match themselves.
Yeah, because I do the same thing too. I did that June Rumble season. I did it last year, and I only got up to like 2001.
Yeah.
And then this time I got as far as 2010. So maybe next year I'll complete it. And that's important too, because I haven't seen all the Rumbles either. I've only, the 17-year hiatus I went on between 02 and 19, I might have seen only a handful of those that I missed.
Yeah. I need to go back and watch all the time that I missed. My kids were born in 2005. I'd say soon after that, the Benoit tragedy happened. I checked out after the Benoit thing. I was like, because at the time I was such a fan of Benoit, I was like, you know what, I between being a dad, my life changing, and this particular incident, I stepped away for a while, and I missed a whole block of, like, I kept an ear to the ground, and every now and then we, as a family, financially went through some things, and I had to cut some costs, and cable was one of them, and there was no network back then.
Right.
So I didn't watch anything, premium live events, pay-per-views, Raw, SmackDown, none of it for probably a good solid 5-6 years. So there's a whole block of time that I missed.
And what brought you back?
Cena and Rock.
Yeah, okay. Same here. That's right. Same thing here.
Cena and Rock brought me back in full time, and then the Shield and the Wyatt family kept me.
Yeah, so I knew what was going on with Cena and Rock. Like, it was a big deal. You could not talk about it, even if you weren't a wrestling fan at that point. But there were a few times in the 17 years where I almost came back or tried to come back. But it just never stuck. It felt different to me. I was like, okay, maybe even though I like old wrestling, maybe I am past this.
Yeah. I just, at the time, it wasn't doing it for me. Stone Cold was pretty much done. The Rock was obviously headed out the door. The Undertaker was slowing down. Kurt Angle had since gone to Impact TNA. So I was like, all my guys are gone. At the time, I wasn't here for John Cena. I was like, this guy's like they say about LA Knight now, I thought John Cena was a knockoff Rock. Without really appreciating what that guy, now looking back, hindsight, the guy carved out his own lane. But at the time, I just thought he was a cosplay guy, and I wasn't here for that. I was like, if this is the next guy, then I'm checking out, and I did. And
I think he went beyond his own lane, honestly, dude. That guy is arguably a Mount Rushmore guy.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I sing a much different tune about John Cena today than I did in 2006, 2007.
That was funny because when I started watching again, I knew that there was this block of fans that like hated him, and so when I started watching again, I was just kind of like, what are y'all mad about? I mean, I was like, this guy's really good, and he does okay. So yeah, he's the superhero character for the kids. Like, what's wrong with that? I mean, and people were just mad that he was doing that, and I was like, well, they're going to get somebody. They want to get somebody to do that. That's how you run your wrestling company.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you do.
I'm
Correct.
sorry, but Paul London ain't selling toys to kids.
Yeah, I
No
mean,
offense to
like,
Paul London, but
right, but it's like, to me, I never understood why people were mad about it, because we grew up on Hogan, and then they tried with the Ultimate Warrior, and then and then I mean, The Rock was a different kind of character, a different kind of personality, but ultimately he was the big kind of, in his own way, he was kind of the big multimedia superhero type of person, and even Austin to a degree, and like they tried with Bret Hart to make him that, and he didn't quite get there, but they're always going to try to do
Ref
that,
bump.
and they're always going to try to do that, and if they get somebody who can pull it off, then they're going to ride with them, and that, to me, that was just like, well, that's just how it works, you know. Why are y'all mad?
Well,
I mean,
to be fair, I was one of those Attitude Era nerds.
And there's Andre.
Yeah.
Getting involved.
I think I lost you guys. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still.
Yeah, you're there.
Yep, there's
you
Andre.
there?
Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. No, I was an Attitude Era nerd and a snob, and when the quote unquote PG era was in full swing, my friends watched it. I kept a kind of an ear to the ground through them, but when The Rock came back, I was like, okay, I'm here for this. I want to see him whip Cena's ass, and then I had a better appreciation for who and what Cena was.
Man, again, shot by Andre like that. Oh my
Andre's
god!
You got again. You get tonight.
Yeah, like I said, like you have to look Big Savage as sympathetic as possible. So doing this again, you looking in the hindsight now, as like a person that knows the business now, you see the signs. Like, yeah, they're making Savage look extremely babyface now, making sure he's polished off to be the champion in 2 weeks from now. And then when you do that is you throw in Hogan's Sprinkle Dust, you make Hogan's biggest adversaries destroy him. This is great storytelling.
Yeah, and now it's 2-on-1. It's Andre and DiBiase against.
Oh, 3-on-1. Virgil too.
Oh yeah, Virgil's out there too. I forgot.
Yep. Andre again, an extra ump. Make him look like a sympathetic figure. It's just fantastic storytelling. I think this is where Vince actually, he gets it.
Vince has always understood his core audience. People don't want to admit that, but Vince has always gotten it.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like, at least at like the top level stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess, it's just with the middle and lower level stuff, he just wasn't always as interested in,
I believe people when they tell me Vince never really cared much about tag team wrestling. I believe that.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
I think Pritchard said it. I think a couple of the guys that's worked with him in the past have said it before too. So I mean, they're not all lying about it.
Rob's talked about that on our show. Realistically, there's only been, you can count on one hand how many tag teams were capable of main eventing, and it adds up to the Road Warriors and the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
I mean,
and not much beyond that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like a tag team, not two main event guys who were teaming together, but
an
actual tag team
that works together.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, and you could say maybe the Dudleys and ECW, because they were super heels and they got a whole, I mean, they got crazy heat in ECW, the Dudleys. But even that wasn't like on a big national level. I mean,
they never main evented a WWE pay-per-view, and they weren't going to. They could try them both as single stars, and they both both floundered.
But I mean, the Road Warriors and the Rock and Roll Express, I mean, they main evented big NWA shows during the 80s, and so other than them, I mean, not really. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's a good part of the show. It's a change of pace. It's or whatever.
because Savage
Tag
always
team
sells it.
wrestling's fun, but I'm not. I won't say that I check out on tag team main events. Like if it's two major, if it's four major people, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But in largely, I'm not a big fan of tag team main events.
Oh, neither am I. I'm not necessarily. I'm not crazy. I mean, unless you're doing, your biggest guys are involved. I understand that.
Right. I mean, I enjoyed this year's WrestleMania because it was the culmination of the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and the Bloodline story.
Absolutely.
So, obviously I was invested in that.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to watch a main event with the Islanders versus the Killer Bees.
No.
It's just not going to happen. I might watch it, but it's not going to captivate me as much as DiBiase and Savage would.
Absolutely, without question. And I think also Vince's purpose for tag teams for a long time was to use that as a vehicle to find a star somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he has a long track record of that.
Yeah.
And that was something that, I mean, Brett and Haku here.
Sean.
Yeah.
Bulldog.
Yeah.
Good Jesse.
And then
that shirt. What is he wearing?
Yeah. And then, I mean, Eric Bischoff copied that later with Scott Steiner with Booker
Correct.
T.
Correct.
So, it's just, well, because there's always more money, and if you get a big single star that you can make into a main eventer and be your world champion, there's always more money in that.
Yep.
I would argue Bret Hart made much more money as Bret Hart than he did as Hart Foundation Bret Hart.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Would you say the Usos are not the greatest tag team of all time? Or are you still?
I think they're up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely up there. And in terms of body of work in the ring, I think they qualify.
So WWE did a thing 2 years ago where they ranked the tag teams, and I think they came in 7th at the time. Now this is before we're at the storyline, the bloodline at the time, but we were not nowhere as deeper into it now. And obviously, I'm thinking, this changes perception of the Usos probably twofold. New Day won that for a record, that ranking, number 1 spot. But Usos has the longevity now to add to it too as well. They've been together 12 years consistently.
Yeah, it's interesting that I sit here and say that I'm not quite as interested in tag team wrestling, but honest to God, in the last 10 years, the Usos versus the New Day is one of my favorite feuds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like those guys, just like, especially their Hell in the Cell match, I'll put up against.
Oh yeah, I watched it recently.
Match.
So good.
I'll put that match up against any Hell in the Cell match. It was that good.
I watched it one time because someone says to watch it. Someone says to watch it a couple years ago. So I watched it maybe 2 years ago. Oh my god,
it's incredible.
Yeah, and I put Hell in a Cell matches probably top 5 Hell in a Cell match of all time.
Because they got violent, and like sometimes people just have a wrestling match inside of the cell, and then sometimes people are just doing a bunch of stunts. But they had a good violent match. I mean, they broke out the handcuffs, and I forgot which one of the New Day they handcuffed to the ring post, but I think it was Woods. Maybe they handcuffed in the ring post. They beat the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they did a spot with I thought it was Woods as well, where they put him in the corner and then they ran the kendo sticks in there and pinned him in the corner.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was pretty innovative.
By the way, speaking of stars and tag teams, no star ever came out of Killer Bees because they both suck.
No stars, yeah.
No stars.
They don't they don't suck. I mean, they're just.
I'm overstating a little bit. I know, Rob. I'm overstating.
But they're just a couple. They're a couple of guys. I mean, that's all.
These are what Rob would call territory guys.
Yeah.
Brian Blair and Brunzell were great workers, but they were territory guys.
Right.
Yeah.
They really, and that's not an insult. It is what it is.
Yeah, and there was a Brunzell.
Although, tell me you didn't pop when they would put on the hoods.
Oh, that part that was fun when they would put. Yeah,
that was always fun when they put the hoods on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jesse would always get just indignant about it.
Just because he could think about everything, man. Jesse's the man, dude. Jesse's the man.
Jesse was so much fun in hindsight, man. He's sitting there cheering every time the heels are cheating, but the minutes the Killer Bees put on the hood, he comes unglued.
Yeah. And see, what I preferred about him was that he knew just how far to go with the whole shtick. I mean,
Yeah.
'cause a lot of heel commentators, they keep, they don't, they don't know when to stop, and they keep playing the gimmick up, and it just goes too far sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, Islanders will probably be no more by middle this year. Haku goes solo. He comes king later in the year. So his Islanders are there with the pin.
Haku was always so believable in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like every time this guy worked, man, I thought he was trying to actually kill people.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one fucked the Haku into that.
Nope.
I've heard the stories. We got one more match here. We got I think we got who did I say earlier is coming on here? The last match of the night. It wasn't Rick Rude,
Who
was
the
it?
last match of the night was?
Oh, one man gang against Ken Patera.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
As I remember, this one's a squash.
More or less.
I think Patera was on the way out by this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patera was out by I think it did SummerSlam that year, and then after that, I don't think I saw him after that.
Here's my guy, the Doctor of Style.
Oh God, the most
Look at
underrated
that
manager in
hat.
history of wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in my top 5, man. Slick is in my top 5.
He's probably my top 5 too, also, but he's my personal number 1 favorite.
Yeah.
George Steinbrenner. To all the 80s references, told the folks on the podcast. Former Yankees owner. Well, he died Yankees owner, should I say.
So, it was funny. So the one man gang, like he lost the UWF title to Big Bubba Rogers, and then within a few months, Big Bubba Rogers would be in the same company with him here.
Yeah, I don't think. And they'll work together actually, because
they'd be teaming together.
Yeah, and it happens literally at the end of this year because one man gang goes through a thing. Still the most craziest vignettes that I've ever seen in my life. Turns to Akeem, one of my favorite characters of all time, actually. I love Akeem.
Like
I'm sorry.
that?
It's hysterical, dude. I'm sorry. It's great.
I mean, like for me, like I didn't get it was just so absurd. And like, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things you're supposed to be mad about it. But
Or get mad about it, you can laugh. I'm
It was
sorry.
just-
I think the gimmick was you were supposed to think it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
and it was, I mean, it was so absurd. But to me, I guess the fact that he was with Slick, like if he had been with a white manager doing the same type of gimmick, then it probably would have offended me. But the fact that he was doing that with Slick, and like I said, it was ridiculous, and it was just absurd.
Mm-hmm.
And so no, I didn't get mad about it. And I mean, look, it was different times. I mean,
Yep.
it just was like, I mean, look, as kids, we watched the Dukes of Hazzard, and nobody in 1982, nobody was upset about the General Lee.
No.
I mean, at least, well, at least, somebody was, but it's just, there was never, I mean, you never heard of there any, big, people being mad about it or whatever. And like, nobody, like, we just didn't care. And look, maybe we should have, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't have cared, but we didn't. And so, like, with this thing with him turning into Akeem, like, we thought it was absurd. We thought it was, really stupid and dumb, but like, we weren't mad about it.
I don't think it was blatantly offensive. Like, you take a Saba Simba.
That was some shit.
Saba Simba, like, even me back then, not being as nearly as socially aware as I am now, looked at that and went, "What are you doing?"
And that's what's funny, because we did look at that and was like, "What the hell is this?" Or like, because to me, I was more offended by like Kamala and Abdullah the Butcher. To me, I was more offended by those.
Yeah.
Because to me, it was, oh, okay, so you sign a black guy and you make him to the African savage. okay.
My understanding that was his gimmick, wasn't it? Like he came up with that, or did somebody give that to him?
I don't know, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
To me, because honestly, if I were to meet the guy and if he would tell me, well, this is my idea, I'd have been like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, as far as I found that much more offensive because you signed some black guy from Cleveland and you decided to make him into an African savage carrying a spear,
and you got a cool name like Tony Atlas, especially too, to use, and you go that route. Like, come on, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean,
Man, so he's smoking hash.
Yeah,
well, that was one thing that The Rock said in his book about his dad was that his dad refused to do those stereotypical gimmicks. Like he's like, my dad wrestled at a time when guys were literally coming to the ring with boom boxes and eating watermelon in their promos and stuff like that. And he's like, my dad refused to do any of that.
Yeah. Oh, that was terrible.
This is more than a squash.
Yeah, no, there's Patera's getting some offense in here.
Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck was that?
What it was his weight. His weight pulling him.
That was horrible.
That was awful.
That was horrible. Okay.
Oh my god! Wow. Patera's cooked here. Look at that.
Yeah.
Should beat his ass after that finish as a shoot.
Oh man.
That was all Patera right there, Bubba.
Mm-hmm.
And man,
yeah, you're not picking that big ass up, Ken.
Well, he
would
have.
Not picking him up.
He would have, but Slick's fucking sorry ass comes in there.
Get him, Slick.
Man,
hit him with the cane again, Slick.
But that angle, the angle when Patera first came back, I think with Bobby Heenan, it was crazy, man.
Yeah. We get to hear from Hogan now in a little bit.
I mean, because that whole angle was just funny because and that was one where I thought the Patera thing. I thought him being in jail was it was just a storyline, but no, he was like really in jail.
Yeah, steroids, man.
That man threw a boulder through a McDonald's window.
Yep. There's a maniacal Hulk Hogan. I thought this bandana was cool as shit. This one here.
Yeah.
He never really went back to it again after that. Well, this one was the coolest one, I thought.
I used to have one of the original Hulk rules, the yellow tank tops.
Yeah.
I got my girlfriend that day was dating back in the day, bought me one as I think a Christmas or birthday gift.
Hulk rules started that year, actually, in '88. Like, you'll see it later in the year.
Yeah, she and I started dating in '90, I think. I think that's when she bought me the T-shirt.
I see giant. Here I come. Ah, 1988, man. What a year.
Wow. Unreal.
We get to the end here. The green. You got Vince and Jesse.
Yeah.
Closing on the show. Here's your future governor of Minnesota. He's saying Hogan's lost it. Hogan's nuts.
Yeah. Hogan's not right in the head because he lost his title. So they're not in front of a green screen here tonight. I think they're actually live, aren't they?
Yeah, it looks like it.
What, live on? They weren't live. They recorded this like 40s before.
Well, no, I know, but I think Vince.
I mean, the crowd. Yeah. Correct. There's no green screen. There it is.
That's
unreal. What a time. What a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's Hogan's crazy ass in the chair.
Comes running down to the ring, swinging the chair.
Yep. Again, this is the tells here. This is all the tells here. Make Savage look sympathetic. Get the Hogan dust.
Now, the one tell I did pick up on was at the end of WrestleMania 4, just the image of them together in the ring. That itself was I mean, that was one time I did look at that and it's like, okay, they're fighting next year. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they made it a point just to linger on them in the ring together at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And that was a super huge foreshadowing.
Absolutely. All right, Phil, any final thoughts?
No, all in all, it's another fun show, man. I'm enjoying doing these things with you.
Yeah,
we'll hopefully we can do it again the next week or so. We on WrestleMania. This is also that's just one more April. There's one April main event after we'll see Savage as champion actually. So we will get a piece of Macho Madness on next episode. We do watch along. We do for this 1988 jog. Fellas, we get out of here. Rob, DJ, want to plug anything?
You can check us out on the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. We're on the Chairshot Radio Network. We usually go live. Well, not live, but our episode airs usually on Saturday mornings. You can find that on thechairshot.com and most places that you listen to your podcasts.
Good, Rob.
Oh, and same, you can hear us every week, and you can hear me every couple of weeks on my own thing, the Rob the Genius podcast. And this week, I went on with Duke Loves Wrestling, and we had a knockdown drag.
Oh, really?
over CM Punk and Jungle Boy.
And Rob, Jason, and I are going to talk about that a bit more this week on our podcast episode.
Yeah, and just look, in this case, me being Team CM Punk is very ironic.
Ironic, yeah.
But in this particular case, I am 100% with Phil. Okay.
Yeah, don't let Duke rally you up, man. Because Duke, you know how Duke is.
No, I know, and then I could tell just as we were doing it, he was doing a bit of a shtick with this whole thing, but but I'm dead serious, on this particular issue. I'm with CM Punk. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Great job as always, man.